Welcome to Delightfully Dysfunctional, a podcast about navigating the emotions of the human condition and the challenges that come with it. I'm Keilani Persian Mason, a psychotherapist and life coach with James Timmons, an ever-curious human. This is not a replacement for mental health therapy. Please seek out mental health care if that's what you're needing. This is an opportunity for self-healers to dive deep and understand more about themselves.
Okay, welcome back. As you guys might notice, Keilani has a very significant change to her physical appearance.
Yeah, guys, I did my hair.
It looks amazing. It looked amazing before.
Thank you.
I'm here for it.
I'm excited. It's been like a decade since I cut my hair, and I like to grow it and donate it. So I did that. But yeah, we were talking about like a foot chop.
And now she's just driving around with a bag of human hair in her car.
That's like not even a lie. I know I showed when we pulled up to the studio, I'm like, want to see my hair, James? Because I haven't sent it off yet, and then this just happened like yesterday, and I forgot. But yeah, I just have a bag of human hair.
And they didn't put it in like a nice Ziploc labeled bag or anything like that. It's just a garbage. It's like a kitchen or a bathroom garbage liner.
Yes, it's like the little tiny garbage bag liners. It looks like someone who committed a murder, and it's like my keepsake or like my trophy. Not creepy at all. I promise I'll be sending it out. I have no desire to have a trinket of my hair.
I mean, it's nice hair. So, I mean...
Yeah, if you want some extensions, I can hook you up.
We have some awesome things we want to talk to you guys about today. What do we got?
What do we got?
I don't know what it is, but I'm assuming.
I know, we talked about so many ideas. Well, we wanted to start with talking about like the emotions and the body and kind of like what's going on in our brain and body. So I think that's a fun topic to dabble in. But before we jump in, like I want to know a little bit about just like how your week has been. Like, how are you doing? What's gone on with you?
I am doing awful. I'm just kidding. No.
It's time for your therapy session.
Yeah, that's why I'm here. It's the only reason I agreed to do this. Kidding. No, my week has been great. I'm really excited about this, and then just creating content. Like, I personally that's the one thing that makes me feel most alive, because I do like the comedy reels and my other stuff, and then this, it's exciting because I have a creative brain. And so if I'm not creating things, then I feel like I'm just dying. So, it's been really exciting it's been really exciting.
Yeah, likewise. I know I've been looking forward to today.
Yeah.
And it's been so nice. It was time. I got an assistant. Shout out Megan. And it has made my life so much easier. And so like work doesn't come home. I can just relax. I can just enjoy myself. Yeah. All of the admin stuff that I don't enjoy. Like I'm good at the therapy room, not as much the admin stuff. So it's felt so good, and it gives me time to be more creative. Nice. And like I've been working on some really cool courses, some internal family systems, some Gottman, maybe some like psychedelic therapy coming up. So I'm a nerd, and it has given me time to nerd out.
Wait, are we going to do LSD on the show?
I don't have access. I'm not there. I'm learning.
I know a guy. I actually don't.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so the brain and the body. I think it's like we're a one organism, and our emotions, what's happening in our brain, it affects our body, and yet we don't really like to think that way. Like there's a lot of shame about going to therapy, and it's basically, we go to physical therapy when something isn't working right, and we learn how to be more flexible or to build strength. And so it's interesting that there's that stigma when, therapy helps you have flexibility and grow mental strength.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think, and I'm thankful because the stigma is starting to kind of go away, and that's why we're here. Just because so many people, I would say every person ever has neglected mental health needs, and so therapy. So we've all been taught to just suppress all that, And but like, yeah, if you deal with it, and there's a physiological side of it. There's brain chemistry that factors into your mental health, and I've definitely noticed all that. And once you start focusing on and paying attention, then yeah, you'll see, okay, if I drink alcohol, I feel depressed the next day. When you're really paying attention. So
yeah, exactly. Like what are the elements we should pay attention to make sure that our brain and our body are operating at the right level, and being aware of that. When I am talking to people who might still have that stigma of mental health, I try to give an example too of like, well, if you broke your arm, we wouldn't tell you to just like get over it and like head to your baseball game.
Yeah.
We wouldn't say that's not a big deal, suck it up. We would take you to get care. And this is also how I would want to like normalize mental health and talking about it and seeking help is like, hey, it's part of being human. Like this is something that we need to work on, pay attention to. So and the next point that I think is really important too, most of the illnesses, especially in America, that we're dying from are mental health related, and we don't think about that. They're stress related.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, they say like loneliness takes years and years off of your life,
Oh man, it is the number one factor of lifestyle that determines how adding years to your life. Like there were studies that were done on people who were smokers and didn't have friends, weren't social, were much more introverted, much more lonely. They would identify themselves as lonely, and smokers who were very social. So lifestyle, like basically through survey, basically similar lifestyle, other than one has friends, one does not. Like 3 to 5 year age difference in how long they lived in life expectancy. We are social creatures. Humans are social creatures.
Absolutely.
And so not only just societally with technology do we have all this distance right now, but then COVID happened.
Yeah.
And we're noticing that. We're noticing an increase in depression and anxiety. Some of that could be that it's more normalized, and so people are seeking help or identifying it themselves. But the other piece is that the conditions that we've come to feel are normal are actually really unhealthy for humans. So I think that's another important piece. Like we have to pay attention to our biology and our needs.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think COVID, like the isolation, everything, I think it more so unearthed all these neglected things rather than created. I mean, it might have also created a lot more stress and anxiety, but I personally, through my own experience, realized that it unearthed a lot of stuff. And I can, I'm sure you've seen this, but so many marriages were dramatically affected in the year 2020. And like mine was no exception, unfortunately. But
the need to have social connection is important, and biologically we were actually living in tribes of like 40 to 100 people, so parenting looked very different too. There was a village, and there were a lot of things that were different. And since like the Industrial Revolution, technology, there's just been such a fast movement of change, and we are an experiment. Like all of the things that are now affecting us that weren't here in previous generations means that we are in the petri dish.
Yeah.
So we should pay attention to some things that still remain constant. It's not like things have changed. So many things have changed.
Yeah.
One thing that is constant is that you have a human body, and your nervous system, your body, your emotions, they all respond and react in the same way that they did hundreds and thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, let's talk about that. Some first observations, like I worked at an elementary school, so if there were a kiddo who kept getting stomach aches at the same time of day, the nurse and I would kind of like look at each other and give a wondering face and eventually talk. And what do you know? It's anxiety because they're avoiding this class. So why is it that like that's happening in our stomach? Like a lot of people have tummy issues or an upset tummy. Butterflies in the tummy is even a phrase for like nerves or anxiety. Why is that happening? And part of that is that cortisol, part of the stress hormone, it is produced in our gut. And so it's that part where we're feeling maybe more hopeless or less attachment to someone. That's what's going to produce cortisol, that stress hormone. And it makes our tummy hurt. It doesn't feel that great.
Okay.
So that's one thing that we should pay attention to. That's produced because we have a vagal nerve, and it goes from our brainstem all the way down our body. It's the longest nerve in our body. And so it controls so many systems in our body. The other thing that we need to pay attention to, there's so many things, so many things, is when we feel angry, adrenaline kicks off. So that fight, flight, or freeze. So the adrenaline and cortisol, that combination that can happen is really unhealthy and dangerous. It's the feeling of fearfulness, fear for one's safety, and helplessness.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that animals, they experience these things too, but what is different about animals don't die from stress-related illness, really, like we do. They don't have depression and anxiety unless their social groups are cut off.
Yeah.
But they don't ruminate. We ruminate. We have the ability to think and overthink and continually think and keep ourselves in that state even when it's not happening. So now we have chronic stress.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so in my own experience, I learned recently that I would wake up in the middle of the night because I was imagining something in the future that could possibly happen. And so the adrenaline would wake me up, and then I would think, oh gosh, I need to think about these awful potential things that could happen.
Yeah.
And all it does is just, invite more adrenaline and more stress, and
and make you feel out of control, right? When that helpless feeling that cortisol can bring.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting up the overthinking and overanalyzing and what if, and I don't have options, and all of that can start stirring up. And when nighttime anxiety is really common because our brain is tired, so it's going to be easier. We can't defend the resilience as much, so it's going to be easier for sometimes those things to sink in. But yeah, exactly. It's not pleasant. It's not fun. And you might even notice, if you think back to when you're experiencing anxiety like that, what else is happening in your body as far as temperature, sensations, heart rate? What do you notice?
Well, I was going to say, that it was really helpful for me to when I started to begin to understand my brain is being washed by adrenaline, and usually it takes about 20 to 30 minutes for the adrenaline to kind of subside. So whenever I'd wake up in the middle of the night knowing that adrenaline was just pumping itself into my body, then I would be like, okay. I learned square breathing, which gave me immediate relief in that moment. So then I could just relax and begin to de-escalate. And then 20 minutes later, I'm thinking completely rationally and going, okay, James, it's just your imagination. And I made a commitment to myself that I was only going to use my imagination for creative things, to come up with comedy reels or stuff like this, And what's funny is that when I made that decision, this was the end of October. All of a sudden, 1,000 reel, I came up with all this content. But then, it's amazing how powerful your imagination is, and how creative you are with thinking of worst case scenarios. I could write a horror movie.
Oh God, yeah.
In the middle of the night. But it's just so when I learned to redirect it, that was really helpful, and just every single day became better and better and better.
Yeah. So the two things that I think are key for people if they're feeling stuck in this system of hyperarousal from stress and anxiety, and what we're talking about is diffuse physiological arousal. It takes a lot of enunciating, DPA, and this is the part of our sympathetic nervous system that's taking over and just control. It's meant to keep us safe, obviously, but that can overreact in these moments. So when we can pay attention to the sensations in our body when we're in DPA, which you did, and we can pay attention to the thoughts and kind of label them as that's a dysfunctional thought.
Yeah.
Those are the first steps towards now I can know when to intervene and
Yeah.
have an intervention.
Yeah.
So those are going to be really, so if you're listening, kind of think to yourself, okay, what are the types of thoughts, or what are some thoughts that I know can spiral me out, and what are the physical sensations I might be experiencing? And in a future episode, we'll probably talk just specifically about dysfunctional thoughts. But to give an example, what you just described of like worst case scenario horror movies spiraling it out, that's such a fun word for catastrophizing.
Ooh.
Catastrophizing. Maybe I even mentioned it before, but it's a really common dysfunctional thought. One of my favorites.
You're my go-to.
Yeah, my go-to. Just like freaking out. So I'm not I never want to give the impression that I'm an exception to not experiencing these. I do. And sometimes I am spiraling out, but that's so rare now, and it's much faster for me to just like ground and know what's going on. And there's not that fear that can come with catastrophizing when we're in DPA, when you know, like, oh, it's just my brain being a little bonkers, or like this feeling in my body. I have control over how I can bring it down. It feels better, understanding. So I want to go into it even another layer. We're taking another layer in. Okay. The best way, I use Dan Siegel's model. So if you're just listening and you're not watching, go ahead and just make a fist with your hand. You too, with your thumb in the middle, actually. There you go, like that. Okay. So this is my model of the brain. This is my prefrontal cortex here where my knuckles are, which is right behind your forehead.
Oh.
And then this would be my brainstem, right? So if this is my face, like here's my eyeballs out here, here's my brainstem. Okay, so we're just going to speak about 3 parts of the body. You can do it with me, or you don't have to if it's awkward.
No.
If we're going to lift, what he would say, lifting the lid, lifting like the top of our brain. And if we were to just kind of like the tip of our thumbnail there, that would be our amygdala. So tiny, and right in the middle of our brain is our amygdala. It's itty bitty, but it controls that fight, flight, freeze and our adrenaline. So that tiny little part. And the other interesting thing is, if we were to say maybe the thumb, just for the proximity for this model, is our hippocampus. And that's like our filing cabinet memory part of our brain.
Okay.
So when someone is in DPA, or another term might be flooded, I might say flooded more than DPA, but flooded is that our emotions are taking over. If in a couple or in a relationship, this might be like a common like, ugh. In that state, you can no longer listen. Literally, the blood flow from this process is leaving your extremities, and it's going to all of the important parts of your body to protect from hemorrhage, because it thinks you're in trouble. It thinks you're in that type of crisis.
Would you say that's what triggering, when you're triggered, that's what you're experiencing?
Yeah. I mean, it depends on what someone's physical experience is. But yes, like I think being triggered or being flooded could be used interchangeably. It would matter like what your heart rate is, basically. So about 100 beats per minute is when someone would experience flooding, but there would be a difference in that if someone's like really athletic and their resting heart rate is already really low, it might be more like, I don't know, 85-ish or something.
Yeah.
So like in certain therapies, when they're wanting biofeedback, they'll even like have people hooked up to heart rate monitors and what is it, like oxygen meter. What is that called, where you're like rating? I don't need. Someone knows. Yeah, I don't. I'm not saying it right. Anyways, and so like that can help give you feedback about when you're in this state. So back to my brain model. I've got my hand here. Here we go. Like I'm ready to punch him out. So when we are in the state of DPA, our prefrontal cortex, that is our communication skills, our good thinking, it's like, bye-bye, peace out. It is not one of the like essential parts of our body or our brain needed if we are in this like fight, flight, or freeze, shit's going down kind of state. But the adrenaline and the amygdala, it's there like freaking out. And that's why we feel stuck. Yeah. So it's things like deep breathing, meditation, even like there's a lot of popularity right now with cold exposure, but that can even bring you down. So if someone were to go and like splash cold water on their face or take a cold shower, that would even be a good option because it shocks you. It shocks you out of that state. And this is
singing. Go ahead.
Singing. Yes, that is one. And humming. In fact, that was one that's I just heard was recommended, and I thought that was a really good idea. Like, just go hum your favorite song in a different room. Go take a break. Give yourself a timeout. And then even all of this has to do with the vagal nerve, which I started talking about, that longest nerve in our body. So the more we practice those things, the better vagal tone we have, which means we're able to calm and self-soothe faster.
Yeah.
So there's my long-winded, like,
it's so interesting.
Thank you. I think it's so, I nerd out over it.
Same. Well, I'm sitting here like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Like, that's all happening, right?
So you sing.
I mean, I'm out of practice, but having, to be honest, okay, so we talked, my husband also sings, but he's so good that I was like intimidated to sing around him.
Oh,
I'm
really?
like, yes. I even told him, I'm like, don't know that I like singing around you. I'm not that, I think I'm out of practice. But having our daughter like kind of put the kibosh on that. So right now I'm really tuned up on like, if you got some Coco Melon, you want some Gabby Cat, which if you would like some Encanto, Disney, that's my repertoire right now.
Those are all great. I mean, Coco Melon, but Encanto though.
Yeah. Yeah. So I enjoy it, but it's kind of just for my enjoyment. Maybe one day I'll feel brave.
Well, I remember I kind of came to the conclusion because I sang for many years, but
in what style do you like singing?
Oh gosh, okay. If I just really want to sing alone in my car,
just for James
I'm
and your
gonna say,
enjoyment.
Alexa, play Queen.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm just gonna sing along with Freddie. I mean, he's like next level. I consider him the greatest lead singer of all time. Robert Plant with Led Zeppelin #2. But Led Zeppelin will be my other jam. And you know what? My Chemical Romance, the Used, like the emo phase. So that's like but it's all the stuff that I have to sing full voice, like belting.
And
the
you
note.
have to have good breath.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it too. And belly breath, which I think we talked about, like that's part of like singing and projecting your voice using your diaphragm. So all of those things are so compatible with what you're needing to do with the vagal nerve and the parasympathetic nervous system to calm yourself. But you've hacked this already.
I know, and it's crazy because singing is controlled breathing.
Yes.
And it's rhythmic breathing. It's so similar to square breathing, but then you add in the joy element of like the energy of a song. So like my favorite song to sing is Somebody to Love by Queen. And that's a hard song to sing, but you really got to sing it. And then like when it's like the build up and everything, and I'm like, it makes me happy. And then but also one thing I noticed is that swimming is the same, but we won't get into that. But I want to.
And physical activity, that is, exercise is a part of this too, because you do need. It's the same type of idea with breath work with exercising.
Yeah.
And so often we're taking, like I notice I'm taking shallow breaths a lot of my day. I'm trying to work on that. But like the practice of just giving your body, it's like giving it a hug, to give it some deep breaths and give it some belly breath. Like just pause right now, please, and do some belly breaths.
Yeah. Well, as you're saying that, I always, every once in a while, I'll stop myself. I'll notice I have so much pressure right here. And then I just
right
go,
on his chest. He's holding his lungs. Yeah.
And then you just like relieve the tension, and then breathe deep, and then you just kind of. And I also notice I carry a lot of stress right here.
Me too. Yeah.
And so like when I wrote this thing down. I keep on saying I won't share it, but I need to. I need to be okay with sharing stuff, right?
No, otherwise I'm gonna start pulling it out.
Yeah. Okay. There's this thing I created, inspired by other people, but I call it my level 1, level 5. And so level 0. So like level 0 is like the worst version of yourself. And I wrote down all these characteristics, but then level 5 is the person who you always dreamed of being, and those characteristics. And then I learned that I can actually start acting like that person today. And one of them, all that to say, was I wrote bright countenance. And whenever I read those words, it makes me relax my face.
Wait, say the words again.
Bright countenance.
What does countenance mean?
I think it means like a physical, like happy.
Oh, okay. No.
Like you're bright, like you kind of light up a room. You
gotcha.
know?
Okay, I like that.
So like I always try to imagine myself like being that guy that people are like, oh, okay. He makes me feel
his energy is uplifting.
Exactly. And so when I think of that, it always makes me relax my face.
Oh, that's not. I
and
like
then,
that.
And smile more. So I wrote this whole thing.
I feel like there's isn't that I find it to be one of the best compliments when someone's like, you have such good energy.
Yeah.
I love that. That's like you couldn't say anything.
You do have really good energy.
Oh, it's so nice. Thank you. It's like a hug. You do too.
Thank you.
It's so interesting. At some point we'll talk about the Enneagram, but the Enneagram goes through that same type of numbered system that you've created, like our best self and our unhealthy self.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be really fun to dive into in the future. So stay tuned.
Yes. Yeah. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity. So we're talking about physiological stuff, brain chemistry. What are some things that you do? Maybe you don't do it consistently as you want, but just things that you do, like foods that you eat, whatever, routines that you notice have a really good return on your mental health.
Oh, it's a really good question. There's some things that I'm trying to be more consistent with right now. I would say, well, for sure, sleep. Sleep is really big. I know that sounds so simple, but I had a baby who did not like sleeping.
I need more sleep.
So that is a big game changer for me. So like good sleep hygiene, making sure I'm in bed on time, giving like personal responsibility for those, like making sure that routine is locked down. Journaling, that's a big one for me. That's like access to your subconscious. The more you can kind of like spit things out, it helps me see things with clarity. So if I am maybe stuck in a dysfunctional thought, let's say catastrophizing, since we've already defined that,
it's a good word.
As I'm writing it out, I can see it better and say, oh, actually that isn't the route I want to go, etc., etc. That's a really important one. Exercise, which has been hard for me. Like I didn't grow up in like an athletic family. I'm feeling like I don't know like sports. Like I don't know what to do with my hands. Like I'm so like awkward and not good at it, uncoordinated. So I like being outside. Our weather's been weird. This is the funny way that I've incorporated more exercise. My daughter loves to dance. I am leaning into that. You want to dance? We're going to dance. We're going to dance. I'm just like dancing all day to entertain her, to be present with her. But also I'm like, I will work up a sweat.
Well, yeah, that and it helps her take better naps, right?
Yeah, that's the goal. Exactly. Yeah. And then, so it's a cycle. Then I sleep better. It works out great. So it's so silly, but it is what works for me. And I'm okay with being silly.
I did that all the time with dance with my kids.
It just feels good. Like, tell me it doesn't feel good to dance. If you're not dancing in your house, even if you're alone, or if you feel comfortable with other people, I feel like you should do that. I'd like you to find a song you want to jam out to and just see how it feels to move your body to the beat. Yeah. It's going to make you smile.
Well, I mean, I can, what works for me is just twerking in the mirror.
Yeah, that's how you start your day, right? Is that one of your routines?
Every morning I'm like.
Yes. Yeah.
No, that's not true. I'm sorry that I gave you guys that mental image.
No, I want it to be true. Can you try it tomorrow and like do it and then tell us how if it worked.
I'm gonna come back and be like, so you might notice that I'm walking funny.
I pulled a muscle.
I ruined my back.
Oh my gosh, so funny. Those. Drinking enough water. I have certain vitamins and supplements that I take. Those are some of the things that I do. I want to get outside more. The weather's getting nicer. All of those things are elements that help me stay grounded and able to like not spiral and ground myself faster.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and I guess I'll answer the same question.
I know, same question. You phrased it so nice, too.
Thank you.
How did you say that? It was
I blacked out.
Oh, damn. It was really good.
I don't even know what we're talking about. What was the question?
Just kidding. Yeah, I don't remember. You said it so nice. Coping skills, things you like, things you
Kyle,
do.
Can you play it back? No, I'm kidding. You don't have. Yeah, so I agree. Everything you said. And for me, before all my like personal failures, I never really had to focus all that much on fine tuning my mental health. I just took it for granted because I was like, I have a pretty good life. I got nothing to worry about. But then anyway, so then when shit hit the fan and it just was circumstantial depression. I don't know if that's a term, but that's what I call it. And I became massively depressed. And I noticed that I isolated. And so then I was like, okay, I basically stripped everything down. And then I kind of accidentally figured out what worked. The one mistake I made is that I turned to alcohol. And so then I noticed pretty quickly that I would get drunk in the middle of the day and I would feel great while I was drunk. And then I would get sober and feel horrible. I would feel depressed the next day. So I learned to limit my alcohol. But then I start every morning exercising, and I work out at a gym where we socialize with each other. So that's kind of a community, and it's wonderful. So I'm like an extreme extrovert. I have to be around people. So when I isolated, I became like suicidal, and then anyway. So sorry.
No, I'm so glad that you're not there anymore. I'm so glad that you're in this place.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I'm glad I'm there. I'm in this place too. But so I exercise and I pay very close attention to my nutrition because I noticed that lots of sugar will also contribute to my depression. And so if let's say a Saturday, I decide to just eat like crap. I didn't exercise that morning. I get shit-faced that night. Then the next morning, I'm going to be an absolute mess. I know that. And so it's good because I've learned where my like borders are.
Yeah.
Because of so much like failure and accidental discovery.
But isn't that how, who doesn't figure out those parameters by that method? Like, we don't get a printout that says, for you, James Timmons, this is going to be what I would prescribe for you, and this is biologically what you need and how things are going to affect you. Like, it takes that.
Well, what I've noticed is that a lot of people don't realize that like those chemicals are contributing. So what you'll see is somebody will wake up, drink as much caffeine and coffee as they possibly can, and then get drunk that night and wake up still feeling that need that coffee, like that the joy that the coffee is going to deliver. And then it's going to repeat the cycle over, and they're going to eat like crap because they're comfort eating, And so then they don't really, a lot of people don't notice that if you like strip it all away and then start really paying attention, like if I could offer one piece of advice for mental wellness, I would say track your nutrition for a week. Like just to see what you're putting into your body, because like nutrition, a lot of doctors won't tell you this, but nutrition is so influential to your body's makeup,
Well, it is. Exactly. It's what is going to help all of these things move more efficiently. And there are, again, now having explained what's going on in our brain and in our body, don't you think if we're giving especially our gut and our brain, the things that they're needing to work well, that we would notice a difference emotionally? Like I take this, but I think everyone should, a probiotic that is for mood. Because that has to, so it's, that sounds so odd. But the gut is considered our second brain because of this dynamic. Our nervous system isn't just in our head, it's throughout. And then omega-3s, that's also important. Vitamin D, especially if you live in the northern hemisphere, we are all vitamin D deficient and probably need more than we think we do. B12, that's an important one. So like there are certain things like that are also really important to have dialed in. But that's an excellent point. Like, I don't know, we're glorified plants. There are certain things that we need. Like we need the right kind of food, just like a plant does. We need some sunlight, just like a plant does. We should drink some water, just like a plant does. Like there's like, we couldn't tell this plant like, sorry, I would like you to continue thriving without water. And I think that's what we try to tell, like mentally, we do that. We're like, we think we have that kind of control, and it's so silly. Like, I'm going to be happy, but I'm only going to eat junk food, and I'm not going to socialize. And those things make me uncomfortable. So I'm not going to do it. I'm going to escape through video games and through whatever alcohol to just numb myself. And sadly, there are so many people stuck in that autopilot state and don't know how to get out. It's like the Matrix. That's how I think. If anyone's seen the Matrix, but it's like, we got to get them out.
Yeah.
We got to wake them up.
What's funny is I've actually never watched the Matrix.
I just met, there's a second person I made that reference to and they didn't get it. So I need to find a new one. Am I get too old?
No.
You seem like someone who would have seen the Matrix. It was cool when you were like young.
Every time I've said that to anyone, they have the same reaction. Like,
good. They're outraged.
Yeah.
Good. As they should be.
I've also never seen Christmas Vacation. I've never watched The Office.
I've never seen Christmas Vacation either.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you're the second person.
Oh.
Or you're the first person I've ever met beside myself who hasn't seen it.
I have, yeah. On our tiny little farm that I grew up on, we also didn't have cable, and we had 2 channels that sometimes came in when the weather was right. So that's part of my excuse for sometimes missing pop culture. But
I remember as a kid, the channels that didn't come in were really inappropriate.
No, Northern Minnesota.
Remember the Fuzzy, and you you catch it go through once in a while.
No, that wasn't happening
Maybe
in
you didn't
Northern
experience
Minnesota. I don't know, like way cooler channels
We'd
where
be
you
like,
were.
Okay, the bunny ears.
Okay, freeze! Stop
Oh,
moving.
I saw something.
Was that a boob? That's funny. That sounds like teenage boys. That's hilarious.
Yeah, that was. I was
or
a
adolescent
tween.
boys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Curious.
Not
so
proud.
much
Not proud of that.
Oh, biologically, it's normal to be curious about your sexuality at that age.
Yeah.
So again, I'm back to like, we're just fancy animals.
True.
We're animals with a prefrontal cortex and opposable thumbs.
That's why we
Others can
dominate.
debate about that, but this is what.
No, I think we have opposable thumbs. That's
That's
not controversial.
That's not controversial. Oh my God! I showed you how nasty my thumb looks.
Yeah, you almost
today.
only have one thumb.
That's how it felt for a while. I smashed my thumb so badly in my car door that like the nails coming off. I will not give more disgusting details, but I truly was like not using that thumb, and I had a very different kind of appreciation. Like it hurt so bad I couldn't even like look at it. And now I'm like, dang, I'm just glad it's here. I'm glad I didn't have to amputate.
Yeah, I'm glad too, because now you can give 2 thumbs up.
So everything that we're talking about when it comes to like escaping or numbing yourself, this is what I would describe as indulgent self-care. And I think it's important that we think about indulgent and restorative and kind of give some definition to what that means. But so often, especially like with women, I hear a lot of like retail therapy or self-care, gonna get my mani-pedi, and
Treat
it's not
yourself.
that treat yourself, exactly. And it's not that those aren't things that we can't sprinkle in, but I feel like a lot of people rely on that way too heavily for their happiness or fulfillment, and it isn't long lasting. So people who go and come home with like arms full of shopping bags, that joy of the experience and getting those items doesn't usually last. It's usually actually followed with some guilt or regret.
Yeah, when you check your bank account.
Ouch. Exactly. And the same thing with drinking, like you had described. So that's a good indication of like paying attention a little bit to that. But also just like what is actually going to linger and make me feel good, make me feel restored, which are the things like exercise, journaling. If anyone's doing cold plunges, those are things too that like can help you feel more restored. So give some thought to that, and let's talk over like, I don't know, just the differences there, how we can pay attention to it, what other restorative activities might be for someone. Like what's something, here's what I want to know. This is what I come across. I know the activities that are restorative. I know I should do them. Even though I'm a counselor, sometimes I want to watch the TV show anyways, or I want to do the indulgent thing.
Yeah, because you're a human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how could we like talk to someone who's maybe struggling with that? Like what kind of pep talk? What kind of pep talk would you give me? You're going to be the therapist. Therapize me. Therapize me, James.
I'm
what
gonna
do
say,
I do?
you know what? YOLO. Watch the show, get drunk, eat the food, let's go get blizzards. Let's make bad choices. Is that good? Is that good?
I mean, like today, I'd be having a great time today.
I actually want a blizzard later.
Oh,
no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, I'm a bad influence. Pretend. Oh gosh.
Oh my gosh, his chair just slipped and he just shrunk down. I liked that because I was the taller one. That doesn't happen for me as a 5-footer.
Imposing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna pretend like you're flirting with a guilty pleasure or something like that.
Like I love to binge a show.
Okay.
I love to binge a show, but there's these, other things that I know would leave me feeling more fulfilled and have more energy.
Okay, so I'll try to put I have a friend who we hold each other accountable with our fitness and nutrition, and kind of the theme is always you can do the thing that's going to make you feel good right now in the moment, but you're going to have to pay for it. Like there's one phrase that people always use or often use, which I hate, big pet peeve of mine, when people go, you know what? I earned that milkshake. And I'm like, no, you didn't. The only thing you earned is your body fat. That's the only thing you accumulate, you know? So not to body shame or anything, just to give you an example.
Yeah.
And so, the stuff that you accumulate by like indulging and impulses is the stuff that you don't want to accumulate. So it's like, okay, you can resist that now and you're going to feel way better tomorrow, or you can give in to your impulses now and you're going to feel worse tomorrow. So, I mean, really, life is just a million different decisions, and then you find yourself a product of all those decisions. So it's like,
what is tomorrow you going to be grateful for?
Exactly. And you've had enough life experience where you know how you're going to feel. So I can't control you. I can't stop you, but I'm going to tell you that you absolutely know how you're going to feel. And usually I feel like if I had that pep talk with you, that probably might be enough.
That's good.
For you to be like,
good.
Yeah, okay, fine. I'm not going to watch Physical 100, which I did watch. That's a great show.
I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is.
It's a Korean show on Netflix.
Oh, See, now we're diving. Now we're going to talk about our indulgent
Koreans are
shows.
taking
over. That was great. Yeah, and this is a quote that I liked from Susan Winterstead too. Self-care means to deliberately take care of your well-being through restorative activities. So deliberately, I think that's the piece that I'm saying. Like we got to get off autopilot.
Yeah.
Like those are all thoughts that make the action deliberate. Some other thoughts that I think are helpful too are just self-discipline. I used to have such a bad taste in my mouth for the idea of discipline, but it's just like withholding your instant gratification. It's not saying you can't have a blizzard today. It's saying maybe once a month you get a mini blizzard. Like you have to do the thing right now that's good for you, not the thing you're just indulging in and want to do.
Right.
I see, this is a bummer, but I feel like there's a lot of teens who have lived in an indulgent world of just always having access to the thing they wanted, that they don't really even know how to engage in doing something they don't want to do.
Yeah.
In life, you have to do things you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Like part of being an adult means that there's things you have to do that you don't want to do. Like life is not always being happy and living in your indulgent like routines. It's about also like having to like withhold that initial urge, having in control of your impulses, being able to work hard, being able to sit through discomfort and uncertainty.
Yeah.
And so these are the muscles I think that as humans, like we need to like prioritize and be working on too. Don't let them atrophy.
Yeah. Everything in life has a cost. You can either pay for it up front, and those are usually the bad things, or you can pay for it. No, let me the other way around. That was going to be a really good one-liner.
It still can be. Here we go.
Yeah, you can either... Okay, so the bad stuff, you accumulate now, you pay for it later. And then the good stuff, you pay for like discipline. You pay for it now, and you get to enjoy it later.
Yeah. This is the slippery. I totally agree. And I think that it's important that we take some time. like write out a list of what are your indulgent activities and what are your restorative activities, and try to be more aware of it. And then one thing I try to tell clients too, because like we're baby steps. Sometimes like the idea of just adopting, like if someone tomorrow were like, great, I'm going to like reduce my sugar, join a gym, I'm going to, practice deep breathing and journal. That might be a lot if you're starting at square one. So like if you're just doing some like a minute of breathing, that's fine. I'll take it.
100% agree. And that's one thing. Like we're in the beginning of the year, so we're seeing all these New Year's resolutions, and that's something that I am so rah about. Like, give yourself grace, forgive yourself. Like, because like with nutrition, use it as an example. If you want a Blizzard, go eat a Blizzard. But then, like, you just know that you're gonna have to like not eat as much later in the day, or do better tomorrow.
Yeah, there was some other podcast I was listening to. Don't listen to them. Only listen to this one.
Yeah.
And it was a health nut on it, and he was saying the same thing because like he went to like a cabin with a bunch of friends, and someone was like commented on his eating because it wasn't as if he was just eating lean foods. He would a lot of the time, but then he would indulge in a big bowl of pasta or having some cake, and he was like, well, I'm keeping control here so that I can still live life and enjoy the things that I want. And I think sometimes there's that mindset of like, well, the day's screwed. I ate a bite of cake, and then people just like, woo, go all in.
And that's black and white thinking.
Yes.
So like if you just like the advice I give people who are trying to get into fitness is I say, do what works for you. Find your groove and just go with that. Like, do something that you can comfortably incorporate in your life. Because a lot of times people want to take on fitness and they say things like, I'm going to do 90 days of this really awful thing that I hate doing. Well, why? No, don't do something you hate doing. Like, make the decision that you're going to, like, it's going to be something you just incorporate in your life forever.
Because if you hate doing it, I think there's also this association too that doing things that are good for me has to be painful or like
which
unpleasant.
Is not true. Yeah.
And exactly. I don't think that doesn't have that, which is hence why I've adopted just dancing all day. Like it makes me happy. I don't care if it's silly or weird. Like that is going to fit into my day. Is it the same? Am I going to get a 6-pack? Probably not. That's okay. That's okay.
But you're one step closer to a 6-pack.
It's one step closer. It means my heart rate is elevated and I'm getting my steps in. That's one step closer. I think this slippery slope with some of this, like the example you gave of like this 90-day intense fitness thing people are signing up for, the slippery slope is perfectionism, which is going to be our next topic we talk about. Just like that's the other end where people are holding themselves to a standard or to a commitment they've made or an idea of always being perfect that isn't attainable or isn't necessarily effective or sustainable. Yeah. So this was fun. I love nerding out all over this stuff.
Same.
So it's so fun for me. I enjoy it. I hope you guys are enjoying it too.
I think they are. Should we pay off the last episode teaser about for the thirsty?
Oh my gosh! Yes, thank you for bringing it up.
Teaser?
We were talking about healthy relationships. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Sorry.
We're talking about healthy relationships, and I gave you a homework assignment. We talked about writing down the qualities of a partner that you would like.
Yes.
The deal breakers and what like the extras, like that cherry on top would be. It'd be really great if we had this in common or whatever it might be.
Yes.
So share with us.
Okay. I did write it down because I was watching the episode back and going, oh gosh. Anyway. Okay. So, and these are just characteristics that I desire
if we were making a Franken girlfriend and they were here we're creating them. And they're here. What would we download into
Is
the
it sad that
girlfriend?
A zombie girlfriend is kind of my kink?
I mean, if there's people out there that can make this happen, contact us.
Okay. No. Okay. I wrote qualities I need to have in a partner, and this is weird to do because I know people are going to watch this, but I made a commitment that I'm going to be so brutally vulnerable that I'm just going to go for it. Okay.
You got it.
Okay.
Do you want to start from the top?
Let me start over.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the qualities that you would like in a person.
Yes.
So let's start there, and then we can go into the deal breakers and the extras.
Okay, I'm just going to read it.
Read it.
And I'm not going to try to unpack as I go. Okay. So qualities I need to have in a partner or desire, like I said, it has to be a heterosexual woman, and she has to be fun, loves me for me, physically attractive, has an above average understanding of mental health, can hold a really deep conversation, good taste in shoes, which is weird.
Oh, shoes. Okay, I love it. Keep going.
She cannot be taller than me. That's a deal breaker. Well, no, that's not a deal breaker, but that should have gone in the deal breaker column.
That's all right. You're good.
Good sense of humor, best friendness, stubbornly honest and authentic, no secrets, but I would respect her privacy. Makes me feel welcome and safe, encouraging, truly listens and hears, someone I want to be near, plays with my face. And then
is that like a male thing? Because my Zach, he's always like, can you just like rub some lotion on, like, can you just pick at me?
the nails like that. That's the thing. That is the thing.
Okay.
And then I wrote bonus has the ability to sing.
Oh, that would
be
fun.
Or a musician.
Yeah.
Because I sing and I like to jam out every once in a while myself.
So it'd make it more fun.
So deal breakers are if she's a blood relative.
That's important to weed that out.
Rude. I was gonna say, well, we can, but I'm just.
I mean, like constantly rude or unkind, for sure. That would
rude to customer service people specifically.
Yes,
yeah.
That's a good like way to filter someone out.
Yeah, and then if she can't hold a deep conversation, and then if she judges quickly, those are my deal breakers.
Yeah, those are good. Thank you for sharing. Shoes. I have questions about the shoes thing. Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna check out your shoes right now.
I'm not wearing shoes.
But I see them. Those are nice shoes.
Thank you.
We took off our shoes.
No, my shoes don't matter. But no, I'm kidding.
Okay, so is this a foot fetish, James?
No. What I've noticed,
he wants a zombie foot.
I like a little bit of fashion. Because if you have, what I've noticed is that if you have good taste in fashion, the shoes complete the look. So if you're dressed to the nines from head to ankles, and then you're wearing some weird shoes that clash, then I'm like, no, they just ruins the entire outfit.
Okay, so the shoes are kind of the test of just general style.
Yeah, and you can have you can have really good shoes, and then the clothes are ugly.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
It's still acceptable.
That's interesting. That's
noticed.
I'm gonna pay attention to this because I feel like my husband has already learned he has to just buy me new shoes because I don't pay attention to them.
Oh, really?
Yes, he bought me the shoes that I'm wearing because I'm like, I guess I should buy new ones. Anyways, that's a good list. I like that there were so many things about like emotional maturity and like the friendship, especially when we were talking about that being such a basis for a healthy relationship. So we're manifesting. We're gonna manifest.
Yeah.
This person.
Let's see. That's good.
But I encourage anyone to make a similar list if you're out on the prowl, because I think otherwise that desire, like, we're all lonely. I think we're in this chronically lonely time, and so otherwise the desire to just have someone as a companion, even if they're not fitting those requirements, or to overlook them, can be really easy. And then we find ourselves in situations that aren't what you're wanting. And it's nice to have like your own roadmap and your own guidelines to keep yourself accountable on the search.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing. We're going to follow up, see if anyone wants to write in.
I'm like, so I met someone. She doesn't meet any of those. But she's got good shoe game.
But she's got shoes on point.
Yep. Adidas.
Oh, man, the search continues.
No, I'm actually not searching. That was just a fun little homework assignment. That was it.
Thank you so much. Next time we're going to be talking about imposter syndrome and perfectionism. Enjoy the rest of your day and be well.